live. Once again, it is the Field of 68 podcast. My name is Rob Dauster. I'm joined by the one and only Jeffrey Goodman here. And Jeff, it's been a little bit of a slow news day in the basketball world. Not a lot going on. Not any big stories. Not any big conspiracy theories. Just like a nice, normal June spring day. How are you doing, my man?
Yeah, like I haven't showered, I haven't shaved. I've got my pizza in front of me that's ice cold now. I mean, it's just you go from Celtics and obviously Danny Ainge part of it wasn't crazy, but the Brad Stevens going to the front office was pretty nuts. And then as that's happening, I'm working the Coach K story and trying to figure out what's going on there. And I texted you about an hour ago. Something like that. I mean, listen, is it a surprise? He's 74 years old. So it's not a shock, obviously, that Coach K is stepping down. I think the bigger surprise, Rob, is that he's not doing it like Roy Williams did it, right? Roy just did it kind of abruptly. Coach K's got a little bit of a plan here and saying, hey, in a year, I'm going to step down. And I'm going to help with the transition and help Jon Scheyer, who is likely going to be the head coach, as long as it's rubber stamped, which it's supposed to be at about 3:30 this afternoon. I'm going to help Jon Scheyer make that kind of transition, and then I'm going to step away. And one of the big reasons why Coach K, other than his age, is deciding is the same reasons that Roy Williams is going, and the same reasons that Jim Boeheim's probably going to go soon is name, image, likeness, the transfer portal, all the stuff that is changing college basketball right now. I think it's said to these guys who are getting older anyway, you know what? In the pandemic, I'm sure the pandemic was part of it too. They got to kind of stay home. And remember, Coach K was very, very cautious with the pandemic. He was like the last head coach to come in with his team last August. Didn't bring in the kids till like August 8th or 9th, somewhere around there. So I think, again, this is something that a lot of people thought might happen, but it's almost like a Gene Cady, Matt Painter type plan here. Yeah.
And you know, one of the things that you kept hearing about this during the pandemic and during the season is that it's just something that kind of wore on him, right? Like when you go through a situation like this, when you go through something that the entire world went through when it comes to the COVID-19 era, you kind of realize that there are things that are more important than maybe just doing your job, or the things that are more important than continuing to coach basketball at 75. I think you kind of get to a point where you say, all right, look, I've made enough money. I've built my legacy. Everyone's going to know who I am. I've got this program in a place where the person that's going to be taking over is going to be able to have some success. Like, why don't I just go and enjoy the rest of my life in this stress-free environment where I can sit on a beach and I can play golf and I can do whatever I need to do to kind of to relax and not have to worry about the stress of being a college basketball coach. So it's not, to me, it's not all that surprising that this happened. And I mean, it was something that was kind of rumored and bandied about for a while. So, Jeffrey, we got a special guest coming in here right now.
Oh boy! Oh, a Dookie through and through here.
Oh, what's up?
Are you going to cry on this pod, Andre Dawkins?
No,
you're not. No tears. You promise?
No tears. I promise.
All right. I mean, listen, it's kind of like, I don't know, for you who played with Jon Scheyer, this is kind of bittersweet for you, right? Like Coach K, he was going to go at some point soon anyway.
I was just texting with a friend about that. It's like you knew it wasn't, it wasn't going to go on forever, but it's still shocking, to hear the news. So it is sad, but yeah, like you said, if it's confirmed that it's Jon, then yeah, that's amazing.
It's likely, very, very likely. I think it's more of a formality than anything. At 3:30, they're having a meeting with probably the higher ups at Duke, just to kind of probably rubber stamp it. But you can bet, like, if K wants it, who's standing in the way?
Yeah,
nobody.
Yeah,
not some new AD. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's big time like regime change at Duke. You got Dr. White retiring. You got Coach retiring. I'm sure Coach Cut doesn't have a ton of years left, so a lot of changes coming.
Yeah.
Dre, I'm curious. You know John well. You played with him. You've been in locker rooms with him. How does he fit as the head coach at a program that is as big of a brand as Duke is? You know, I know him a little bit. I don't know him as well as you, and he's one of these guys that just seems like he's. I've never heard anyone say a bad thing about Jon Scheyer. We talked about this, other than Maryland fans. I think they're the only people on the planet that don't like Jon. So how do you think he fits running a program and running a brand as big as Duke basketball is?
Well, you must not have listened to the Gerald Henderson pod because he had a lot of bad things to say about you. No, yeah, John's awesome, man. Only got to spend the 1 year with him, but those seniors were on a mission that year, and couldn't have asked for better seniors to have my freshman year, and it was kind of crazy because he. I had a 5th year there, and that was his first year back on the coaching staff. And, that first year, I feel like, he was trying to figure out what he was doing. He's fresh off of playing professional basketball, and, he's trying to find his voice, and then, getting a chance to see him and talk to him and go back and, hang out with the teams over the last couple of years. You can really see that he's found his voice. He knows, who he is as a coach now. So I'm excited for him. Be honest with you, it's not the easiest. It's not, the first guy after K it's not the easiest job in the world. But I'm excited for what Jon will bring, to our program moving forward. And, I think it's honestly a lot about the staff around him, and I think
they're gonna have to give him a veteran, Dre.
Yeah, he needs to
bring in a veteran who's been a head coach before.
Yeah, he definitely needs someone who's running a program.
Isn't Wojo the easy choice? He's unemployed. He's K's like second son, or maybe not second, but ultimately, isn't Wojo the easy choice there to help Jon Scheyer?
He's definitely a guy I would reach out to, for sure. It's just I don't know. It's it's tough to go from running your own program to being an assistant at a program, especially like at your program that you were the assistant at for so long. So I don't know what Wojo's. I haven't spoken to Wojo. I don't know what his mindset is like, but he's definitely a guy I would reach out to for sure.
You can't say no. If Kay asks you, Wojo, for like this year even, or well, it won't be this year. It'll be next year. That's the one thing is Wojo could have a job for next year. Like I'm sure that's what true. He's thinking. So, it's probably a timing deal too, or you bring in a veteran now. You just bring in a veteran now that maybe Wojo, you create a position for him this year. Mm-hmm. He's already there. And if he doesn't get a job next year, he just slides right in and helps him.
Yeah. I think the dynamic next season is going to be really interesting between Coach K and Jon Scheyer. Like, how much is this going to be Coach K trying to like give Scheyer a chance to prop him up and teach him what he needs to be able to do and kind of those final life lessons or whatever it is, and how much of this is going to be like Coach K trying to go out on top. I'm sure like he wants nothing more than to end his career with another national title. So the dynamic between those two and how that works on the bench is something I'm going to be fascinated to see.
Yeah, I mean, knowing Coach personally, it'll be mostly about winning because that's just how his mind works. But yeah, I mean, you do have to kind of get Jon ready a little bit, but I mean, at the same time, he is he's an associate head coach. He's been the associate head coach for a couple of years, I think. So that's as close as you're going to get.
Think about this. Like if we had talked about this like 2 years ago, like Jon Scheyer wasn't even in the equation.
I mean, even like, I think you and I had a conversation about it before this year, right. Before this season. And I didn't have Jon at the top of the list. No disrespect to Jon. I just thought that they'd get a sitting head. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting. So I mean,
I'm happy for him. I've known Jon since he was 15 years old. So like, it's cool for me to see Jon Scheyer, the kid, become kind of the next head coach at Duke. But man, those shoes
Yeah,
That
big
is
shoes.
brutal
Yeah.
to fill.
I was texting with him like last week, asking about his golf game. So I'm sure it's going to take another big hit moving forward.
What golf game? No more rounds for Jon Scheyer.
No.
Unless it's with a big booster. No chance.
Maybe that. That's about it.
So what does this last year look like? Like, is there any thought? So I'm thinking about this now, and I'm like, hey, Roy never got a farewell tour.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why Kay did this? Did he want the farewell tour?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It is. I mean, it's interesting timing on the announcement. But I mean, it could be a situation where he didn't feel he had his mind made up and he didn't feel like they could keep that in house for a whole season. So may as well get it out on your terms. But yeah, that'll definitely be a crazy farewell tour. I'm sure he'll get. I don't know though, because like people hate him. So I wonder how.
Yeah, but I
wonder how the last game at Carolina will be.
Oh, it sucks that it wasn't Roy and Kay.
They do it together. Yeah, that would have been super cool.
Yeah. And part of the thing I always felt, and I always heard this, was Kay wanted to leave, making sure his record will be out of reach. Nobody will have a chance at catching his record for
the wins record.
Wins.
Oh yeah,
and he's doing that now because again, like Boeheim lost all those games. So
Boeheim
right. Who's going to catch him?
He's Boeheim. Yeah,
he's putting.
No, I mean it's. I mean, if you think about it, it's insane. To win 1,000+ games as a college basketball coach, and like most of those at the same place. I just don't. I mean, I don't know how you could emulate that. Just the way things work nowadays, especially if you look at how his tenure at Duke started. This year, I mean, in this day and age, he'd have been fired after those first couple of years. So, it's an amazing accomplishment, and he definitely deserves his flowers.
I got to run, guys. I got to grab this.
All right.
Well, Dre, let's we can end it with this as Goodman jumps off and ditches us. Who do you think he's answering like who's calling him right now? Who do you think it is? Is this Celtics? Is this Duke? Like it's been kind of a wild sports day today.
I know, right? It's been nuts. Like Celtics shake up, coaches retiring. What do you mean who's calling him?
Who do you think it is? What news is he breaking now? Is this Jim Boeheim?
Goodman? Oh, yeah.
You're gonna announce something crazy.
It's something, man. Like that's Goodman is how I found out. His tweet, man. Like he's like the Woj of college basketball. He's just it's probably if he had to run like that, it's probably some huge news and Boeheim's taking the Celtics job or something like that.
Yeah, right. I'm just glad that Duke is putting out that it's going to be Jon Scheyer, so that we don't have to have weeks or
a year of speculation.
Is it going to be Brad Stevens? Is he going back?
I know. Yeah. Yeah. We're lucky that this broke after the Celtics news broke, because there would have been nothing but speculation on Brad Stevens if it was Coach K's retiring first, and then the rumors about the shakeup in the Celtics. It would have been a mess. But that Celtics news is interesting, though. I wonder who they'll hire.
Let me ask you this, Dre. So you played for the program, obviously. You're still connected to the program because you host a podcast about the Duke basketball program. Is this the move that you wanted to see? Like if you were the one that was making this decision, would it be John that you would have gone after? Would it have been someone else? We've talked about this plenty. There was no perfect fit. And to me, it just always seemed like the natural progression would be, okay, you got this associate head coach that's right there. You might as well give him a chance, right?
I mean, yeah, it's interesting because I think it could have been – I think it was just a timing thing, like because it could have been any of the guys who were associate heads for a long time. If this happened 10 years ago, it probably would have been, Woj or CC, because they were associate heads. It had been there for a long time. So I think it was just a matter of timing. And, obviously Coach had a big say in it. And he has been around John for the last I guess 8 or 9 years now, something like that. And he feels like he's, ready to take over. And so, how do you say, how do you say no? How do you say, no, let's go in a different direction? The guy who's been running the program for 40 plus years thinks Jon can take over and run it. So, I have faith in his opinion, and I know Jon will do the best that he can. And I mean, I'm honestly excited. I'm excited to see, what direction Jon takes the program.
Yeah, I'm just happy for him. Like I
Yeah.
said, he's one of the nicest people on the planet.
Absolutely,
And
for sure.
it's nice to see good things happen to good people.
Yeah, and he'll get a little bit of a raise in pay, which will be nice. But yeah, it is exciting, man. I mean, it's kind of like Goodman said, man. It's bittersweet. In best era ever coming to a close, but then hopefully starting another great chapter in the history of Duke basketball with Jon at the helm.
One thing I do think will be interesting is to see how he decides to start building the program moving forward. Is he going to continue trying to get all these one and dones and build recruiting classes like the one that you have coming in this season? Is it going to be something where they really go heavy into the transfer market? Is it going to be something where they go back to looking for a lot of guys that are kind of in that like top 50 range that you can expect to be in school for 3 or 4 years? I wonder what Jon's game plan is going to end up being.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because people say things like that a lot on like Twitter and stuff. Oh, stop recruiting one and dones. And I don't know. It's like, what do you do then? If you're at a Duke, do you not recruit the best guys? You know what I mean? Do you say, oh man, Zion, thanks but no thanks? How do you say, a guy like Zion or RJ or Jason Tatum's like, hey, I want to come to Duke. And you're like, no, we're good. You only be here a year. Like, I don't know how, you can't turn those guys away. And, if you look back at it, like, if Grant Hill was coming to Duke in 2021, he's a one and done. So I don't know if we're recruiting different kind of guys. It's just a different day and age. And even with this past year's recruiting class, you got a guy like, Henry Coleman, who wasn't a 5-star, but, he transfers out. Same with Jamin, he transfers out. Even, like DJ Stewart is projected like late second round and he leaves. So, it's like, what do you do? If, especially how, the transfer portal is, it's like, it's free agency. So it's no real downside to transferring. So I think it's difficult for all coaches. Like the transfer portal is just full of kids. So, I think it's just a different time, man. And you got to figure out how to, put a program together and keep it together. Because, you need that experience to really get deep in the tournament and win games.
And that's probably part of the reason why Coach K is making the decision that he's making now. The sport of college basketball is going to be very different in
completely
the next
different
5 to 10 years between NIL stuff and transfer stuff and all of it. And this, as the saying goes, you don't want to teach an old dog new tricks, right? So if he's going to have to change everything that he does and the way that he does it, does it make sense to throw yourself into that when look, you're 75 years old. There's a that you're coming up on the end of your working life.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. So I'm not surprised to see it happen. I think it happened a little bit quicker, and like you mentioned, it really sucks that we don't get that last Roy Williams against Coach K matchup because that would it's like we didn't know it was like the last one we got. There were no fans in the arena.
Yeah, I know. It stinks. I mean, maybe maybe Hubert can step aside and just let Roy come back for 2 games, one at Chapel Hill and one at Cameron. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it is a new day and age is coming in college and athletics in general. I think you'll see a lot of like the older guard of ADs and coaches, football and basketball. Kind of stepping out of the way and, letting new younger people come in and deal with all the all the just new stuff because NIL is going to be kind of wild, and with the transfer portal and everything like that. Yeah, I think there will be a lot of older coaches who are just like, I don't, I was teetering on retirement, and with all this new legislation and stuff coming through, I'll just pass the reins to someone a little bit younger to deal with.
Right. Well, listen, Dre, I'm going to let you get out of here. I want to end it with this though. What are you looking forward to the most for this next season, and what do you think can be maybe like an indicator for the future? Like, what if we're looking out for one thing to kind of tell us what Duke basketball is going to look like under Jon Scheyer? What should we be looking out for next season?
I think one thing would probably be to keep an eye on like how recruiting is going. If we're losing battles that we usually win, or if we're continuing to win those battles or be relevant as far as recruiting goes. I think that's important. Yeah, and I'm honestly just interested to see how the dynamics work. How much more Jon is involved in the huddles, how much more he's talking. He's not a huge talker, yeller. That's not really his MO. So it'll be interesting to see if he feels like he needs to like change the way he is, or if he sticks to what works for him. So yeah, I'll definitely be tuned in on those sidelines. They need a sideline cam or something like that for all these games.
I think he needs to work on his angry face. Coach K, he's got his angry face, man. It's scary.
Yeah.
Like Jon, though, he looks like he's 12 years old, man. I don't know how
scary. I know. He's looked the same since I've known him. Yeah, man, it'll be interesting. Jon also has to work on make sure he keeps the perception that he's like super nice to all the guys, because as the funniest thing, I would go home and talk to like aunts and uncles, and they'd be like, does he ever, does Coach K ever curse at you guys? He seems like he's so nice. And I'm like, what? Like, how are you guys seeing that on TV? So yeah, he's got to figure that trick out too.
All right. Well, Dre, listen, this has been fun. I'm glad we were able to jump on real quick. Everybody, if you're still listening, please rate, review, subscribe to these podcasts anywhere that you get podcasts for absolutely free.
Yep.
And I guess this is now the Jon Scheyer podcast, huh?
Yeah, I got to get him back on now. He might be too big time for me now.
We'll see. That'll be the determining factor if he's still a nice guy, Jon Scheyer.
Yeah, exactly. If we can get him back on, then he's all right.
All right, Dre, I'll talk to you, man.